Silence is a strategy, not weakness, because it allows you to move without broadcasting every step, every decision, and every shift you make. When you choose silence, you choose control over your environment and your energy. You stop giving people the chance to interfere with your process before it even begins. You create a space where your thoughts can mature, your plans can solidify, and your purpose can gain clarity without the noise of opinions clouding your direction. Silence becomes a protective layer that shields your vision until it's strong enough to stand on its own. In the quiet, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. You're no longer pulled in all directions by what people expect, want, or assume about you. You start to understand your inner voice, the one that gets drowned out when you talk too much or reveal too much. Silence helps you reconnect with your intuition, and that intuition becomes your compass. When you follow it, you make decisions rooted in self-awareness instead of fear or pressure. This is where transformation begins, not in the noise, but in the stillness where you finally meet yourself. Silence also strengthens your discipline. It forces you to channel your energy inward instead of scattering it through explanations, justifications, and unnecessary conversations. When you resist the urge to announce your next move, you build a muscle of control that keeps you focused and steady. You learn to delay gratification, to trust the process, and to stay committed without external validation. That inner discipline becomes your foundation, and everything you build rests on it. People often misunderstand silence, thinking it's avoidance or insecurity, but silence is actually intentional power. It's choosing to observe instead of react, choosing to gather information instead of defend, choosing to understand before you speak. In silence, you develop emotional strength because you're no longer driven by the need to prove anything to anyone. You stop taking everything personally, and you stop wasting energy trying to change minds that were never open in the first place. You grow stronger because your peace is no longer negotiable. Silence gives you an advantage because it keeps people guessing. When others can't predict your moves, they can't complicate your path. They can't sabotage what they don't know. They can't block what they can't see. Silence turns your journey into a private process rather than a public performance, and that privacy becomes a powerful tool. You expand without pressure, evolve without opinions, and grow without interruptions. And when you finally reveal the results, they speak louder than any explanation ever could. There is wisdom in staying quiet, especially when you're building, healing, or transforming. The quiet space becomes your workshop where you reshape your mindset, refine your habits, and rebuild your identity. This kind of inner work doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It needs privacy. Silence gives you room to become who you're meant to be without the world pulling you backward with its doubts and projections. That separation helps you rise without carrying the weight of others' expectations. In silence, you begin to see people and situations for what they truly are. Without speaking, you learn to listen more. Without reacting, you learn to observe more. Without defending, you learn to understand more. Silence sharpens your perception, and that perception allows you to make wiser choices. You start recognizing who aligns with your growth and who undermines it. You start separating genuine support from disguised sabotage. Silence becomes a filter that reveals the truth in ways noise never could. Silence teaches you patience, a virtue that amplifies every area of your life. When you're quiet, you're not rushing to prove anything. You're letting things unfold in their own time. You're trusting the process instead of forcing the outcome. Patience helps you stay grounded even when things move slowly, even when results aren't immediate, even when people doubt you. And because you're silent, you're not wasting time convincing anyone otherwise. You're simply working, improving, and becoming. Silence also empowers you to protect your mental and emotional energy. You stop engaging in arguments that don't matter, conversations that drain you, and relationships that distract you. Silence helps you conserve your strength for the things that actually move you forward. You learn to be intentional with your words, selective with your interactions, and guarded with your peace. Your energy becomes sacred, and you no longer allow it to be scattered in the wrong places. Silence reminds you that not everything needs a response, and not every situation deserves reaction. By choosing silence, you rise above drama, noise, and negativity. You operate from a higher level of self-control, purpose, and understanding. You give yourself permission to grow without interruption and evolve without explanation. And in that quiet space, you find the strength, clarity, and focus that noise could never offer. Focus multiplies your power because it channels all your energy, attention, and intention into a single direction instead of scattering it across things that don't matter. When you choose to lock in on one purpose, one goal, one mission, you begin to experience a level of clarity that makes distractions lose their influence over you. Your mind stops wandering, your emotions stop pulling you in conflicting directions, and your actions start aligning with the future you want to build. Focus becomes the driving force that accelerates your progress and strengthens your discipline. When you eliminate the unnecessary, your path becomes clearer. You stop entertaining conversations that pull you sideways, habits that drain your momentum, and people who slow your pace. Once your focus sharpens, your environment either elevates with you or falls away naturally. You realize that every distraction carries a cost and every interruption steals a piece of your potential. By choosing focus, you reclaim the time, energy, and mental space that scattered living once took from you, and that shift alone increases your ability to succeed. Focus also enhances your confidence because you become rooted in direction. You're no longer guessing what you want or doubting where you're going. You know what matters, and you begin to move with certainty. That certainty builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. The more you follow your focus, the more your identity transforms into someone capable, disciplined, and unstoppable. You stop second-guessing yourself because your actions validate your vision, and that inner alignment becomes a kind of power that no one can give and no one can take away. When you focus deeply, your skills sharpen faster. You learn quicker, you improve consistently, and you move further because your attention is not divided across 20 different things. Focus turns ordinary effort into mastery. It turns practice into excellence. It turns consistency into transformation. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they spread their ability too thin. With focus, you concentrate your gifts, and that concentration creates results that stand out. Focus also strengthens your discipline because it becomes easier to say no when you have a powerful yes in front of you. You stop compromising with comfort, delay, and mediocrity because your purpose becomes more compelling than your excuses. You develop an internal structure that keeps you accountable even when nobody is watching. Discipline stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a privilege because it becomes the pathway to everything you want to experience. Focus transforms the way you work, the way you think, and the way you show up for your goals. With focus, your decisions become sharper and more aligned with your future. You start recognizing what supports your growth and what sabotages it. You stop wasting energy on temporary comfort that undermines long-term success. You build a mindset that sees beyond the moment and into the outcome. This shift in perspective allows you to move strategically instead of emotionally, intentionally, instead of impulsively. Every choice becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you're building, and focus ensures that every brick is placed with purpose. Focus also amplifies your resilience. When you're committed to a clear path, challenges don't discourage you the same way. Obstacles become part of the journey, not reasons to quit. Your vision keeps you steady when circumstances try to shake you. Focus allows you to endure setbacks without losing direction, to weather storms without losing belief, and to rise again without losing enthusiasm. You become harder to distract, harder to discourage, and harder to defeat because you're anchored to something greater than the temporary pressures around you. Focus changes the way you use your time because you understand that every moment invested in your purpose multiplies your progress. You no longer operate on autopilot or give hours away to activities that bring no return. You start valuing your time as your most powerful resource. You become intentional, efficient, and purposeful with how you move throughout your day. That shift creates compounding results. Small, focused actions repeated consistently turn into massive transformation over time. Focus multiplies your power by elevating the quality of your environment. When you know what matters, you gravitate toward people, spaces, and habits that support your growth. You distance yourself from distractions disguised as friendships and obligations disguised as opportunities. You start building an atmosphere that nourishes your goals instead of suffocating them. You surround yourself with clarity, order, and alignment, and that environment becomes a silent force that pushes you forward. When you live with focus, you operate with a sense of purpose that becomes visible in everything you do. Your goals feel clearer, your actions feel meaningful, and your daily life becomes structured around growth instead of survival. You experience a deeper level of fulfillment because you're not just moving, you're moving in the right direction. Every step becomes intentional. Every choice becomes strategic, and every effort becomes a seed planted in the soil of your future. Not everyone deserves access to your journey because not everyone has the capacity, the maturity, or the intention to handle the weight of your purpose. When you allow too many people into your inner world, you expose your dreams to opinions that can weaken them, doubts that can cloud them, and negativity that can derail them. Your journey is sacred, and when you treat it like something ordinary, you risk letting the wrong voices shape your direction. At some point, you have to protect your path with the same seriousness you protect your future because the two are deeply connected. Some people only support you as long as you stay at a level that makes them comfortable. The moment you start rising, they feel threatened, competitive, or insecure. They don't clap for your growth, they tolerate it. They don't celebrate your wins, they secretly hope you slow down. These are not the people you want walking beside you as you evolve. The wrong company can limit you without ever saying a word. Their energy speaks louder than their encouragement. And if you're not selective, their presence can cost you your progress. There are people who don't want to understand your journey, they just want access to it. They want to benefit from your growth without investing in their own. They want to witness your elevation without doing the work to elevate themselves. They want proximity to your success, but not responsibility for their choices. Access becomes a privilege. And when you give it too freely, you allow people to drain your strength without contributing to your vision. Protecting your journey means recognizing who belongs and who merely wants a front row seat. As you grow, your circle naturally shifts, and you must allow that shift instead of fighting it. The person you're becoming requires different influences, different conversations, and different environments. Growth demands separation, not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. Your future cannot be built in the company of those who are committed to their past. When you rise, you must be willing to leave behind anyone who refuses to rise with you. Your evolution requires courage to release and clarity to choose. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your plans. Most people misunderstand them, minimize them, or misinterpret them. Some people unintentionally discourage you because they can't see beyond their own limitations. Others intentionally do so because your ambition highlights what they refuse to challenge in themselves. Your journey becomes stronger when you stop explaining yourself to those who cannot understand your vision and start surrounding yourself with people who speak the language of growth, discipline, and purpose. There are moments in your journey that require privacy because exposure at the wrong time can sabotage development. Some dreams are fragile in the early stages, and too much visibility can attract doubt, comparison, or resistance. When you protect your process, you give it space to mature. You give yourself time to grow into the version of you that can handle the responsibility attached to what you're building. Privacy becomes a form of strength, a shield that guards the promise inside you until it's strong enough to stand in the open. Your energy is too valuable to be shared with everyone. Some people drain it, some misuse it, and some exploit it. Being selective with access is not arrogance, it is wisdom. When you give the right people access, they push you higher. When you give the wrong people access, they pull you backward. Knowing the difference is part of your growth. Your journey will demand boundaries, and those boundaries will not be understood by everyone, but they will protect everything you're becoming. Elevation requires discernment because people operate with different intentions. Some come to support, some come to observe, and some come to sabotage. When you learn to read intentions instead of words, actions instead of promises, and consistency instead of excitement, you protect yourself from unnecessary pain. Discernment helps you recognize who belongs in your life and who belongs in your past. It helps you keep your circle aligned with your purpose instead of letting it be shaped by convenience or history. Your journey deserves people who inspire you, challenge you, and push you to become better. It deserves people who don't fear your growth or resent your progress. It deserves people who want to rise with you, not compete with you. When you surround yourself with individuals who reflect where you're going instead of where you've been, you move differently. You think differently. You evolve differently. Your environment becomes an accelerator instead of an anchor, and your journey becomes lighter instead of heavier. Choosing who gets access to your journey is an act of self-respect. It's acknowledging that your dreams matter, your peace matters, and your growth matters. When you stop explaining, stop proving, and stop giving access to everyone who demands it, you reclaim control of your direction. You begin to walk with intention instead of obligation. You learn that not everyone who started with you is meant to continue with you, and not everyone who claps for you is rooting for you. Your journey becomes stronger when you choose to share it only with those who are aligned with your elevation. Quiet work produces loud results because the most powerful transformations happen away from the spotlight, where there are no opinions to distract you, no applause to influence you, and no pressure to perform for anyone else. In the quiet, you work with a level of purity and intention that cannot exist when you're trying to impress others. You focus on the process instead of the perception. You build without needing recognition. You grow without needing approval. And that silent, consistent effort becomes the foundation for breakthroughs that seem sudden to everyone else, but are deeply earned by you. Quiet work gives you room to fail, adjust, and improve without judgment. When you operate privately, mistakes don't become public spectacles, they become lessons. Setbacks don't become gossip, they become fuel. You allow yourself to explore, experiment, and evolve without the pressure of being watched. This kind of growth is deeper because it's genuine. You're not performing, you're progressing. You're not trying to look successful, you're actually becoming successful. Quiet work is where preparation meets transformation. When you work quietly, your discipline sharpens because you're doing it for yourself, not for validation. You show up even when nobody is clapping. You stay committed even when no one is checking. You push forward even when no one is encouraging you. That self-driven consistency creates a strength that external motivation could never match. Your habits solidify, your mindset strengthens, your character deepens. Quiet work removes dependency on the outside world and forces you to rely on your own determination. Quiet work protects your progress from premature exposure. Many dreams collapse not because they weren't possible, but because they were revealed too soon. When you announce everything before it's ready, you give people the chance to doubt, discourage, or derail you. But when you protect your work in silence, you allow it to grow roots before it grows branches. You give it stability before visibility. The quiet season becomes the preparation season. And that preparation is what creates results that look effortless, but were built with sweat behind the scenes. Quiet work keeps you humble because it reminds you that success comes from discipline, not attention. You begin to value the grind more than the glory. You appreciate the process more than the praise. You learn that true achievement isn't loud, it's steady. It's built in early mornings and late nights, in repeated effort and unnoticed sacrifices. Quiet work develops humility because it teaches you to trust the growth that no one else can see yet, knowing it will reveal itself when the time is right. Quiet work also eliminates unnecessary pressure. When you stop announcing your goals, you stop giving people the opportunity to scrutinize your progress. You free yourself from timelines you created just to impress others. You move at your own pace, guided by purpose instead of performance. This freedom allows you to fully invest in the work without the anxiety of external expectations. In the quiet, you find mental space, emotional clarity, and creative flow that public pressure would never allow. Quiet work builds momentum that compounds over time. Each small effort, repeated consistently, becomes a force. You may not notice the growth day by day, but you feel the shift. Your skills improve, your confidence rises, your perspective sharpens. People often mistake quiet seasons for stagnant seasons, but that's because they don't understand the power of compounding effort. The loud results that show up later are simply the visible proof of months or years of silent dedication. Quiet work reveals who you truly are when no one is watching. It exposes your discipline, your hunger, your resilience, and your willingness to do the hard things without applause. It becomes a mirror that reflects your commitment. You learn whether you are serious about your goals or just fascinated by the idea of them. In the quiet, excuses fade and truth appears. Your habits tell the story. Your effort tells the story. Your consistency tells the story. Quiet work shapes your identity long before it shapes your results. Quiet work protects you from unnecessary comparison because you're not measuring your journey against anyone else's timeline. You're not distracted by what others are posting, achieving, or pretending to be. You're focused on your own lane, your own growth, your own mission. Comparison loses its power when you're immersed in the work instead of the noise. Your progress feels personal, meaningful, and authentic because it's rooted in your effort, not someone else's highlight reel. Quiet work eventually produces results so loud that they silence every doubt, every question, and every assumption that people ever had about you. The same individuals who didn't notice your effort will be shocked by your elevation. The same people who underestimated your potential will be astonished by your progress. What seemed invisible becomes undeniable. What felt unnoticed becomes unforgettable. The results speak because the work was real, and the results are loud because the effort was done in silence. Your energy must be prioritized because everything you create, pursue, and experience flows from the state of your inner world. When your energy is scattered, your life becomes scattered. When your energy is depleted, your motivation fades. When your energy is drained by the wrong people or the wrong environments, your potential shrinks without you even realizing it. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's choosing to guard the fuel that drives your growth, your purpose, and your future. Without strong energy, even the best intentions lose their power. Your energy shapes your focus, and the quality of your focus determines the quality of your life. When you allow your attention to be consumed by negativity, drama, or distractions, you rob yourself of the ability to move forward with clarity. But when you prioritize your energy, you filter out what doesn't serve you. You stop letting people pull you into unnecessary battles. You stop pouring into things that don't pour back. You learn to walk away from conversations that drain your spirit and toward environments that strengthen your vision. Your energy becomes a compass that points you toward alignment. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries that are uncomfortable but essential. Not everyone deserves constant access to you. Not every message requires a response. Not every demand deserves your time. Boundaries help you preserve the energy you need to grow, heal, and evolve. They teach people how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, a recognition that your time, your peace, and your presence have value and should be handled with care. Your energy must be prioritized because it affects your emotional stability. When you surround yourself with people who drain you, criticize you, or bring chaos into your life, your emotional state suffers. You become reactive instead of intentional. You feel heavy instead of hopeful. But when you protect your energy, you protect your emotional balance. You choose environments that support your peace instead of stealing it. You choose relationships that uplift rather than burden you. The more you honor your emotional energy, the stronger and more grounded you become. Your energy affects your productivity more than motivation ever will. You can be motivated for a moment, but if your energy is low, you won't follow through. When you prioritize your energy, you give yourself the capacity to move consistently. You can think clearly, plan effectively, and take action without feeling overwhelmed. You start accomplishing more with less effort because your energy is aligned, focused, and replenished. It's not about doing more, it's about doing with intention, and intention thrives where energy is protected. Your energy must be prioritized because it shapes your confidence. When you're drained, everything feels heavier. You start doubting your abilities, hesitating in your decisions, and questioning your worth. But when your energy is strong, you think differently. You feel capable. You feel driven. You feel connected to your purpose. Prioritizing your energy strengthens your self-belief because it clears the mental fog that often blocks clarity. Protecting your energy becomes a way to protect your identity from being weakened by external noise. Prioritizing your energy teaches you to stop overextending yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. You recognize the difference between helping and self-sacrifice. You understand that saying, yes to everything leads to exhaustion, resentment, and burnout. When you value your energy, you stop trying to save everyone and start focusing on saving yourself. You learn to give from overflow, not emptiness. You learn that you cannot pour into others when you are running on fumes, and that your well-being matters just as much as your responsibilities. Your energy must be prioritized because your purpose requires strength, clarity, and consistency. You cannot fulfill what you are called to do if you are constantly drained by situations that don't align with your growth. Every dream, every goal, every breakthrough requires energy. When you guard it, you give yourself the power to move forward with intentionality. You stop wasting energy on battles that aren't yours. You stop giving your best to things that don't deserve it. You start aligning your energy with your mission instead of misplacing it on distractions. When you protect your energy, you begin to attract better experiences. Peace draws peace. Clarity draws opportunity. Strength draws like-minded people. The moment you start valuing your energy, everything around you starts shifting. You make better choices, you build healthier relationships, and you create an environment that nurtures your growth instead of draining your spirit. Your energy becomes a magnet, pulling in what aligns with who you are becoming rather than who you used to be. Your energy must be prioritized because it is the foundation of your future. When your energy is strong, your life expands. When it is drained, your life contracts. By choosing to protect your energy, you choose to protect your growth, your peace, your purpose, and your potential. You choose to rise above anything that threatens your progress. You choose to invest in yourself instead of spreading yourself thin. You choose to build a life driven by clarity, strength, and intentionality, knowing that everything starts with the energy you guard and the energy you give. Your transformation needs no explanation because the journey you are on is deeply personal, shaped by experiences, lessons, and battles that no one else has lived through. People may see the changes on the outside, but they will never fully understand the internal work that brought you here. They don't know the nights you wrestled with doubt, the moments you nearly gave up, or the strength it took to rise again. Because they've never walked your path, they don't deserve a justification for the direction you're headed. Your evolution is not a public vote. It's a private decision to become better than the person you used to be. As you grow, some people will question you simply because your transformation challenges their comfort. They were comfortable with who you were, not who you're becoming. Instead of allowing their confusion to make you shrink, you must allow it to remind you that growth is doing its job, disturbing the environments that no longer fit you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for outgrowing what you've healed from, what you've survived, or what you've learned to release. Transformation is a sign of courage, and courage rarely earns universal approval. Your transformation needs no explanation because people interpret change through the lens of their own insecurities, fears, and limitations. Some will misunderstand you not because you've changed for the worse, but because your evolution confronts their stagnation. Others will assume your distance is arrogance when it's actually protection. Others will call your silence unfamiliar when it's actually peace. When people don't understand, they fill the gaps with their own projections. And that is exactly why you must stay committed to your growth without trying to correct their assumptions. Transformation requires solitude, and solitude rarely comes with applause. There will be fewer people around to validate your decisions, fewer voices cheering you on, and fewer explanations you feel compelled to offer. But this is the beauty of transformation. It teaches you to validate yourself. It strengthens your trust in your own judgment. It teaches you that your path is not meant to be understood by everyone because not everyone is assigned to your future. When you stop explaining, you start evolving with freedom. Transformation needs no explanation because the people who truly align with you will recognize your growth without demanding a justification. They will notice how your values are evolving, how your priorities are shifting, and how your mindset is elevating. They will support your expansion without requiring a presentation. These are the people meant to stay. The ones who demand explanations simply reveal that they are attached to a version of you that no longer exists, and your evolution will expose who is meant to walk with you as you rise. You don't have to prove why you're healing, why you're changing your habits, why you're elevating your standards, or why you're walking away from certain environments. your reasons are rooted in experiences that others never had to bear. You learned lessons that others never had to face. You made decisions for your peace that others may never understand. The more you grow, the less you feel the need to announce or justify anything. Because growth teaches you that the only explanation that matters is the one you give yourself when you look in the mirror. Your transformation needs no explanation because your future depends on your alignment, not on other people's approval. Every shift you make is preparing you for something greater. Every habit you break is freeing you from something smaller. Every step you take away from your old life is carrying you toward a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Trying to explain your transformation to people who are not evolving with you is like trying to describe sunlight to someone who has chosen to live in the dark. They won't get it, and they're not supposed to. Transformation changes the way you think, the way you move, and the way you respond. You no longer entertain the same conversations because your mind has outgrown them. You no longer tolerate the same behaviors because your spirit has matured. You no longer chase the same validation because your confidence comes from a deeper place. These changes may confuse people, but confusion is not your responsibility to resolve. Your responsibility is to honor the person you are becoming. Your transformation needs no explanation because clarity is an internal process, not an external announcement. You're learning to listen to your soul, trust your instincts, and follow the path that brings you peace. You're releasing what no longer aligns and stepping into what calls you forward. There will be people who don't support your decisions simply because they have not felt the shift inside you. That shift belongs to you alone. The more you grow, the more you realize that your transformation is not a conversation, it's an evolution. You are allowed to become someone new without explaining who you used to be. You are allowed to elevate your standards without apologizing to those who preferred your old ones. You are allowed to move differently, choose differently, and live differently without defending any part of it. Your transformation is your right, your healing, your breakthrough, and your responsibility. It belongs to you. And you never owe anyone an explanation for becoming exactly who you were created to be.